Hi guys. If you hear what's going on right next door, I apologize. If it gets worse, I may just have to end the live. Hello, Lindy London, Ray Clay, Andrew Cruz, an analog synth player. Rage Against the Machine, Donna Davidson, hello. Sherry Hughes, thank you. Marty Lauderdale, hi. Thank you. All right. Denise Martinez, hello. Donna Davidson, hello. Patricia White, hello. Rick Yorkin, Ezra. I'm a skeptic and be more busker. Hi. All right, so let me just start with this. People do see the dying trees. Dying. So, local woman wakes up to house covered in ice from apartment waterline break.
Unbelievable video as we continue our Fox 23 severe weather team coverage. This morning, a local woman woke up to her house covered in that ice right there from an apparent waterline break. Fox 23's Alexa Mostrom spoke with the woman and shows us what happened.
Tosca Cook tells me she woke up around 6 a.m. to water pouring into her home through her chimney.
This morning, my brother, he woke me up and he goes, there must be a water pipe broke in the house.
Cook says while the flooded living room was a surprise, the real shock came when she looked at her front lawn.
It's just covered in ice.
The area around that house has been turned into an ice rink. I was slipping when I was walking on the sidewalk and driveway because it's all covered in ice. Cook tells me she quickly called the city to report the apparent waterline break in front of her home, but it was still a couple of hours before the water got shut off.
I was like, oh man. I'm like, how am I gonna get to work? Can't get out the door of the house.
Cook's entire driveway, sidewalk, and lawn, along with some of her neighbor's driveway, are completely covered in ice.
We'll have to be very careful getting to the mailbox.
With the temperatures back to below freezing, I asked Cook how she's going to deal with the frozen driveway.
Just wait it out, let it thaw out.
As for the inside of her home, Cook tells me they don't know what water damage there is yet.
She seems like she's freezing. But it took hours. It took hours to shut the water down. Really? Why is that happening? Because I do remember, actually, posting other individuals where they have these floods from water main breaks, and it takes hours for them to shut the water off. I just feel that something's up with that. And listen to this. This is an electrician. Here. A lot written here. Everyone, this is so important. Please take the time to listen or read this post. American electrician drops extremely important facts about what's being put into our atmosphere.
I was just out back with my dogs, and I grabbed a handful of this stuff. And I was going to let it melt on my hands, just like this, okay? One, there's a big ice film on here. So I held it, and I threw it down, and what was left, I wanted to see if it was just going to melt, and it did. I was about to throw it down and do this, but then I smelled it. I'm an electrician. Whenever burning wire is in a wall or there's an arc, there's a smell that happens instantly. It's called ozone. You know that smell very well as an electrician. You walk in a house, you smell ozone, you know there's a fire. There's an electrical fire somewhere. So I'm trained to smell that smell. And I've never smelled it in snow. Now I'm Gen X, and as a boy, 70s and 80s, after the rain, you know, you would smell an ozone smell. And it was kind of natural, you know, it was just a little bit of ozone for just a few minutes. But I've never, ever, ever smelled it in snow. So I went and looked it up. And I want to know the effects of ozone. When 48 states all have snow at one time and it's coated in ozone, what could that mean? Well, when I looked it up, what it said was that ozone has an effect on humans of irritation to the lungs, coughing, bronchitis, emphysema. All these things can be aggravated. And I know they're about to roll out Disease X. They're about to say that everybody's got all these lung issues and all this. So I started looking at what would cause snow to have this level of ozone, to still be trapped in here like this. And ozone, so this is the thing. Snow forms at around 50,000 feet. And your rain is usually 30,000 feet and lower. And I've always known that even when I was young. And then that changed in the late 90s. They were talking about the clouds were at 50,000 feet. And it was raining outside. I said, that's unnatural. It doesn't make any sense. And that's when, you know, I started to realize there was weather modification stuff going on. But anyway, the point is, I started looking into it online, and it said that high levels of ozone would come from man-made things, pollution, this and that, you know. So they've put something up there in the sky. They put something up there to cause all this snow. And if you're on this channel, if you're on this page, you already know, or you should, that they're manipulating everything. But what they've done is they have sent something down here to us. And we're all out here, it's all about to melt, and we're all gonna breathe it at one time. And it was, online it was saying that massive doses of ozone all at one time are extremely detrimental. They're gonna cause a lot of lung issues, a lot of wheezing, a lot of chest irritation. So be prepared, watch out for it. Because I was looking around, I mean, it's like 34 here right now. And this isn't melting the way snow usually melts. Like, there's a little bit of water right there. But normally, I mean, you know, we got rivers running down the side of my street, and you don't. It's like it's just evaporating. I've never seen snow melt in this fashion before. Like, my driveway's dry. Look at this. See the wet line? There's a wet line and a dry line. And it shouldn't be that way, you know? All this snow should be running together. But it's just right on the edge of the snow. And even down at the end of the snow. If all this snow is melting, that's bone dry. That's bone dry right there. That makes no sense because the water should be coming down. So there's weird things happening. It doesn't make sense when you look at it at first, but when you start putting all the pieces together, this is the beginning of what they're trying to do. They've sent this down here on us.
Well, some people are noticing. Can you hear that music? This is how I live. This is not good. Dog is tied up. Actually, this is a little bit better than the rap that I listened to blasting. Hard to believe. But things for me have gotten a lot worse. Must be because I attract it. I'm horrible. I'm this, I'm that. I sit in here, keep to myself.
That close, it's not
this size, I hope. That's really weird.
They're not that. Are they close?
I don't think they are, though.
Oh no, that close, it's not.
Now that looks like regular contrails. So does this.
He can certainly be a very dangerous creator from these positions. Having Mount backing up the play with Frimpong providing overlapping runs, and someone like Greenwood ahead looking to drift infield, gives United a perfectly balanced right side with a variety of different ways to create. And whilst it may sound absurd, I think Mason Mount should learn to play as a fullback. Not because I would be using him there that often, as Dalot, Frimpong and Simakan are far better options, but because if he can learn the defensive side of the fullback ability just yet.
I think that's in the UK. So, here we go. National security experts raise alarm over Biden's EV push. Wow, really? A coalition of 17 retired military officials led by retired U.S. Army Major General James Marks. They have warned that Biden's push for mass electric vehicle adoption is a threat to national security. It's certainly a threat to your own home and the car because they seem to be bursting into flames in an awful lot of places, and it's a threat if you want to go anywhere in the winter and it's too cold, and boop, that's just not going to get you anywhere. A majority of Biden's $136 billion student loan forgiveness scheme going to public servants. Government workers. And shouldn't taxpayer funds be used to bail out poverty-stricken Americans before people with college degrees who signed their names to a contract for non-dischargeable debt? Let me read that again. Shouldn't taxpayer funds be used to bail out, how about put in the elderly who are being pushed out of their homes? How about them? Before people with college degrees who signed their names to a contract for non-dischargeable debt. How about that? Hey, Americans. Maybe you could start screaming something. I'll just play some of this. If you don't know Gregory Mannarino, I will link below to this video. You can subscribe by clicking on this link. Things are not good, okay? They're just friggin' not good.
As you see, mass layoffs are driving these corporations' stock higher. That is going to continue as we move forward. You can expect thousands, tens of thousands of people to lose their jobs in 24. And again, this is, along with the bad economic news, which does not stop. As a matter of fact, today, this is pretty epic, and this is worse than I even expected, honestly. So here we go. With regard to home sales here, this precipitous drop here in home sales, the worst year, 2023, since 1995. So the worst the economic, does this sound familiar to a single person that follows this blog? I want to hear from you. How many of you recall me telling you, as the worse that the economy gets, the higher the stock market is going to go? That is going to continue. The economy is in free fall. People are being laid off. Tens of thousands. Thank you, Jeffrey, are going to be laid off here. War is going to vastly expand we got this warning or promise from the mummy sitting behind the Resolute desk today. Yes, it's a mummy. And if you don't like the way I talk about certain people, because I got a lot of flack today because I was talking bad about the illustrious president. You don't belong here. All right. I don't trust anybody. This entire system, in case you don't know, has been corrupted. I despise the whole damn thing and all the players involved, because all this is a mind screw on an epic scale where people seem to be putting their faith, as usual, in the wrong freaking places. And they're all going to pay a terrible price for it anyway. I don't care. Oh, Greg, I'm unsubscribing. Good. Just unsubscribe. Please do. Don't threaten me. Just do it. Army Mom. Thank you. Anyway, I'm glad I got that out of the way. So, yes, all well and good. New record high for the S&P. Great, fantastic. Dow, great, fantastic. The NASDAQ was actually the biggest winner today. Okay, but history was made today. Okay, lovely and great. But again, does it surprise you? You're all laughing. You're all laughing because we've been so far ahead of a curve on this. It's just frankly unbelievable. And again, I want you to remember these things. What's driving the market now is several factors. One is, again, the crating of the economy. The faster it drops, the more people that lose their jobs, because this is going to help the bottom line of these corporations here, the higher the market's going to go. More war, the higher the market's going to go. The market is pricing it in, okay, and it's going higher. And then once war gets even worse, maybe you see a little drop, but I'd be buying that dip as long as they can keep risk at bay. And we're going to talk more about that because I've covered that a million times, but let's do it again. So again, and then the promise of easy money. More easy money is coming, okay? I can't tell you how many, first of all, let me just say this. I despise people who try to manipulate people. I hate that. Okay, so you got many of these YouTube channels talking about crash and this date and that time and this blah, blah, blah. They've all been wrong. They're going to consistently be wrong because they don't know what they're looking at. They don't understand the market. They pretend that they're market people. Oh, yes, I'm calling a market crash, but I don't know anything about the market at all. You got to be kidding me. And that bothers me because I don't know what they're trying to do or how they even have a single person that still follows them. Because they've been wrong and they're going to continue to be wrong. No one can pull this out of a hat. It's an impossibility. But if we watch risk, that's what these people are missing. They're not talking about risk. Now, risk in this market, as a matter of fact, let me read this to you. This is in your inbox. If you subscribe to my free newsletter, link below. This is in your inbox. Again, fantastic. And it's freaking beautiful that the market.
All right, I really wanted you to hear. And I have read in articles that 2024, we are going to see tens of thousands of people lose their jobs. And when we see headlines, jobless claims have lowered. Why? Because so many people have already lost their jobs. Okay, it's not going to be good. And do not think that the stock market is a reflection of the economy on the whole. It's not at all. There's 2024, man, it's not going to be good. It's just not going to be good. I want you to listen to this. Somebody sent this to me. Savage. It was a subscriber. Taylor News, I think. UFC champ. These are fighters, I guess. This is not up my alley at all. But wow, he has a lot to say to the media.
I am not chasing the Chinese check mark of Nike. I don't give a about that. I care about you guys having freedom of speech.
Question for the champion, Sean Strickland. Sean, you said a lot of things about Canada, but coming in here to that ovation, what does it feel like to be a hero to these people?
And this is what the media doesn't understand when it comes to me and you guys and Australian fans. Let me tell you guys something. When have you ever seen a UFC champion, George St. Pierre, or anybody else stick up for you guys? I do it. I am not chasing the Chinese check mark of Nike. I don't give a about that. I care about you guys I care about you guys being free. I care about you guys having freedom of speech. I give a about you guys. And I'll tell you what, you guys are awesome, and I cannot wait for me and this man to go to war for you guys. I'm proud of the motherfucker. You don't see me lose character often. This motherfucker got me there. No, it ain't. Goddamn, let's go. Let's go, dog. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, he has a lot more to say. You can listen to it. Yeah, but he speaks straight, and he's right. That's for sure. And here, boy, Les zones, Glasgow, Scotland. What's your thoughts on these zones that we now have in New York? I don't see anyone protesting what's happening here in terms of the, our ULEZ zones that hit New York City. Go below 60th Street and you have to pay. You have to pay now. And anybody coming into Manhattan, they have to pay the tolls. Then, if you go down to 59th Street, passing 60th, then you have to pay. Vehicles, I think it's $15 a day. Trucks, it's more expensive. Here.
Oh, shout to people! All my people! Hey! What's happening? Genie! 142, man. Yo! Oh, guys, let's go!
Yeah. It'd be nice to see some action here. But listen to this guy. Self-appointed trustee of the future.
As trustees of the future, we are responsible for advancing a world which is richer in possibilities, more equitable in opportunities, and more secure in its foundations. Moreover, as leaders in government, business, and society, we bear a particular responsibility to rebuild trust in how we assume our own role as trustees. As trustees of...
Really? Wow. Talk about this entitled, psychopathic, arrogant subhuman. There's only a few of them. There's a whole lot of us. So here, Peter Sweden sums it up. World Economic Forum 2024. Klaus Schwab appointed himself Earth's trustee of the future. They openly talked about creating a new world order. A speaker said farming and fishing was ecocide and should be a serious crime. They talked about how a biometric digital ID would be good to check people's vaccinations. The media said they were gatekeepers and owned the facts. And I can verify every one of those statements because I heard people at the World Economic Forum saying just that. Just that. All right, so a little craziness here. Masked members of far-right group Patriot Front are marching in Manhattan? What? All right, what is this about? Now, they look like Fed, right? They look like mercenaries. You know, the khaki pants. And apparently they're like some white supremacist group. That's how mainstream media has defined them. But you have to wonder then why Why isn't mainstream media on this group? Destroying all of the individuals, because there's not that many, right? Here. And no one told them that America has already been sold. It says America is not for sale. Hello, it's been sold. It's gone. But what is this group about? They are feds, as far as I'm concerned. Why are... America is not for sale. This is why they're marching in Manhattan, you know, hiding their faces. They're all wearing the same thing, and going into stores. What's their message? I don't get it. Looks like they just got, I don't know, brain surgery. All of them. This is so weird. Why do they have to hide their face? What is this group about? Don't know. But look at this.
Live on. Hey guys, what's up? Don't know if we're getting the service out here. We're at our southern border wall, where on multiple occasions, just driving along the border, there's complete sections that have been cut out. If you take a look here, see where this has been cut. And this is about the 10th section. We're out in the middle of nowhere right now, but this is about the 10th section that's just missing here. So I wanted to go live, just show you guys really quick. We're going to probably be doing a live stream on Rumble and YouTube once we get to another location.
Okie dokie. I guess the wall is not that great, huh? And I was watching this and I thought, this is what all of us should be doing to these people who are working for the NGOs.
Did they explain to you the laws? I know you don't deal with American citizens much, but we have a First Amendment right here. So do you want to repeat what you said a little while ago? We're not allowed to film? What is it about the Constitution you hate so much? I'm just curious. Why don't you want people filming your human trafficking organization? The NGOs that are getting millions to invade this country. Why don't you want to talk about that? Did you get a lesson from the police today? This kind of attitude is the stuff why we continue coming back. Did the police help you out? You're wasting the resources of actual citizens while you're spending all this money for illegals, people who broke into this country. Are you okay with that? Does it feel good to be wrong? Exactly.
This guy is just as treasonous as all of them in Washington, D.C. Probably didn't have to take an oath, you know, to get paid to help the invasion of this country. But just, yeah, treasonous prick. Secure the border. Pretty sure this is Arizona. Probably Lukeville. Yep. Wow, man. Not good. And here, this is a 2-hour and 40-minute live that you can watch. Just posted on the invasion, and it's very clear that it is. You see, cartel, all of their SUVs driving up and just unloading a whole lot of migrants.
There's another one. Here's another group of migrants that just crossed in illegally. Border Patrol sitting here watching and waiting. We're gonna see this in real time, folks. Watch this in real time. Here comes another group. Here comes another one, folks. Here comes another one. Large van. Look at all this. Look at all this. Look at all this, folks. Look at all this. Look at all this. Here it is, folks. Real time. Live. JLR investigates. That's the first wave. Look at this. This is the first wave, folks. And here comes more. Here comes more.
What are you using, Michael?
Boy, that border wall is really protective, don't you think? No. And guess what? All of these people coming over, we are paying to sustain their lives. Unbelievable what we're doing. Unbelievable. And Americans are just not doing anything about this. Some are documenting it, some are screaming about it, but most don't do anything. Look at this. And I think about all of the people who are going homeless because they can't afford rent. Wow, man. Something's wrong. Something is so wrong. That's quite a wave.
Okay, this is the last one.
That's a lot of trucks. This woman was walking from the farmer's market on 14th Street in Manhattan and walked into a migrant fight.
Hey everybody, it's Peggy D, News on the Street. I'm down here on something street. There's these migrants down here acting a fool fighting. That's all they can do. I just went right through the middle of them. There's a whole bunch of them there here fighting. You know, this is what's happening down up in here. These people have nothing else to do up in here, and you know they're going to start fighting and robbing stores. Anyway, just a quick little thing. Peace.
So, don't know if you guys in the UK know, channel migrants given right to work in UK. Ooh. Channel migrants have been quietly given the right to work in sectors including care. Care? What's care? Caring for the elderly, caring for whom? Construction and agriculture, and can still retain access to state-subsidized bed and board under a home office scheme. That's okay, you all can afford it, right? And there's so many jobs out there. Spain.
Qué barbaridad. No van a invadir, pero antes de mí.
I have seen, I can't tell you how many videos, countless videos of migrants just jumping off boats and running onto the beaches in Spain. Child trafficking encampments.
Obviously, we've shown you guys multiple camp areas in which it was not as obvious as what we're seeing here. Take a look at what we're seeing here. You start seeing nothing but children's clothes, blankets, there was these little girls' articles of clothing, little boy or girls, little boy shoes, more little girl undergarments, little girl shoes, more little girl shoes. Another, I don't know if it's a woman or another, a girl's shoes. And there's baby bottles all the way in there. And just to show you guys, there's multiple baby bottles in here, baby formula, little girl jackets.
What's that medicine to the left? Gloves?
Pacifiers. What's that to the left? Gloves?
These are latex gloves. Like, they had tons of kids in here, guys. Tons of babies in here, wrapped in blankets. Their evidence is here. The government is complicit in all this. They have children out here like dogs. This is incredible. This is a child camp, guys. You can't tell me that what we're seeing here and showing you guys, this is a child camp. This is a child camp. Infamil. Somebody's bringing them Infamil all the way out here to maintain these children before they get trafficked into the thirsty United States of America.
Yeah, and this has been exposed now, and it's being exposed pretty much on a daily basis. So what has happened to the American people that we're not hearing from them? I don't get it. I really don't.
Bravo! 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 Sì, un'altra!
They know they're invading the countries. They know it. That's why they feel so entitled. And the Nazi World Economic Forum, yes, admitted they owned the news.
Go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the facts as well. If it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact. Nowadays, people can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying. So it's no longer good enough for us just to say, this is what happened, or this is the news. We have to explain explain our working. So readers expect to understand how we source stories. They want to know how we go about getting stories. We have to sort of lift the bonnet, as it were. And
no, you don't. And it's not that complicated. You get the script from government or military, and then you just read it. You're propagandists. That's what you are. You own the news and the facts. Really? Don't think so. Oh, back to the border.
Three. 1, 2, 3. Next row. Not that hard.
They're fucking crazy. We are mad. Not angry, but just mad. Insane. That, here, Ireland, the Irish government picked a fight they won't win. We'll see. Every time the government plans to open a people trafficking center, protests will erupt.
Please come back to the back of the queue. He's eating protest.
Wow. And here are predictions for 2024. The Global Forecast Series. What are those predictions? The S&P 500 makes new all-time highs. That's right. Robotic workers loom over labor. There will be an AI deepfake election scandal. Heightened global migration flows. Heightened. Wow. Bonds are back for real this time. TikTok leads social media e-commerce. The U.S. avoids recession again. Aha! Well, that's when you live in a country with the market so rigged, if that actually... they're just going to continue lying and lying. 2024 breaks heat records. Again, we're going to break heat records. Inflation stays cool around target levels. Lots of lawsuits and regulation around AI. Japanese markets offer opportunity. Russia, Ukraine, and Israel Hamas wars won't end. Increased geopolitical risk. Weight loss drugs become commonplace. Manufacturing keeps shifting away from China. Where is it going to shift to? It's not going to shift back to the United States. First interest rate cut by mid-year. Apple launches AI in its products. Diversified portfolios are back in favor. De-dollarization efforts continue slowly. 2.5 to 3% global GDP growth. No. Who comes up with these predictions? We analyzed 700 plus articles, reports, podcasts, and interviews to create this big picture. Look at what experts predict for the coming year. Well, obviously, a whole lot of these experts are mainstream. Are mainstream. So, and I'm coming across either articles or videos that have similar titles. It feels like the world is falling apart. I'll put the link into this video. I don't know, I could get a copyright strike. But I love how people put it in, it's like the world is falling apart. Everybody knows something is very, very wrong, but they have to put it into like a rational box to try to understand it. So this guy is saying, well, the average age of 80, the body begins to, collapse and all of this stuff. And he's saying that it's true for countries as well, right? But he is suggesting that all of this is just coming about kind of naturally. And it's not. It's coming about deliberately. Oh, man. So, don't know if you saw this on my channel.
Everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying you need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things. But it starts there. The realization that not everything is plannable, not everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow, but we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace. And that's why we have the plans. That's why we are preparing for a conflict with Russia and the terror groups, if it comes to it, if they attack us. We're not seeking...
If they attack us. And NATO, let's see, where is that article? NATO to hold. Biggest drill since Cold War. 90,000 troops. 90,000 troops. And it pretty much is circling the border of Russia. If they attack us, well, you know, we're not in good shape here at all. And yeah, payment for all of the destruction that we have wrought around the world is coming to all of us. And the world seems to be, well, engaged in warlike behavior. Will this explode? Perhaps. Pakistan retaliation against Iran.
Pakistan has launched retaliatory strikes on Iran. This just really raises the tension between these two countries, and it follows Iran launching its own strikes on Pakistan just days earlier. In this strike by Pakistan on Iran, there are some 9 people who have been killed, and it struck the Sistan and Baluchistan province in Iran. And earlier, Iran had struck Pakistan's Baluchistan province earlier this week, killing at least 2 people. Now, these back and forth strikes, in theory, are targeting Baluch militant groups, Baluch separatists who seek to have their own state in this region. But this also comes amid wider tensions that we see in the Middle East over Israel's war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip.
That's right. And the war is definitely spreading. U.S. launches new strikes on Houthi targets.
Tonight, for the 5th time in just a week, the U.S. again striking Houthi targets inside Yemen, this time with F-18s. U.S. CENTCOM says the strikes were on 2 anti-ship missiles aimed into the southern Red Sea. After determining an imminent threat to commercial and U.S. Navy ships, the Pentagon says, the Houthi missiles were destroyed. But the Houthis are still terrorizing ships in the Red Sea, despite the U.S. retaliation. Pressed by NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, President Biden acknowledged U.S. actions were not deterring the Iranian-backed militia.
Are the airstrikes in Yemen working? Well, when you say working, are they stopping the Houthis? No. Are they going to continue? Yes.
Saudi Arabia's foreign minister met face-to-face with his Iranian counterpart this week.
So our message to everyone, including our neighbors in Iran, is that we need to work together towards de-escalation.
And in an interview with NBC News, another stunning shift, openly discussing a possible deal to normalize relations with Israel and a U.S. strategic partnership. But there can be no deal, he says, without a ceasefire and a 2-state solution.
But what we feel.
Oh, good luck on that. Iran-backed Houthis, we are now in direct conflict with the United States and UK. Things are definitely heating up, guys. Ballistic missiles may have been used in a huge strike on U.S. base in Iraq. Saturday attack on Al-Assad Air Base in western Iraq, which houses U.S. forces, was a big one. It led to some speculation that ballistic missiles could have been fired on the U.S. outpost from Iranian territory. But Reuters also notes 2 security sources in Iraq and 1 government source said the base was hit by multiple rockets fired from inside Iraq. 1 regional analyst has gathered sources to detail the following: not rockets, but tactical ballistic missiles. U.S. injuries confirmed. 15-plus U.S. Patriot missiles were launched to intercept, but some missiles still got through, meaning attack was big. The Iran-directed Islamic resistance in Iraq claimed responsibility. Okay. And let's see what else. Iranian military seen mobilizing forces on Iranian social media.
در خبر باش خود دوی مدرسه آره دیگه آره دیگه اینجوری نشون نمیده نه
Countries are preparing. Houthis declare safe passage for all Russian Chinese ships in Red Sea. Okay, so they're definitely setting the stage for the attack from Russia and Chinese, and U.S. is going to get their friggin' tuchus handed to them. Israel bombs Damascus, Syria. Residential building kills 4 Iranian Guard members. Oh, things aren't good. And a senior NATO official says there will be a hot war with Russia. Not everything is going hunky-dory. Well, reviving ISIS again. We've got to pull up ISIS. The U.S. weapon against the resistance, Axis. So we're going to be hearing more about ISIS and how we have to bomb countries to, get rid of our proxy army, ISIS. So, hold on to your hats. What do you say? What do you say? I don't know. And North Korea tests exotic underwater nuclear drone, claims it can create radioactive tsunami. Who the hell knows? But I've always said this, as far as I'm concerned, North Korea is just a satellite country for the United States. Korean Central News Agency on Friday warned of catastrophic consequences for the U.S. and its followers. Also, given the joint naval drills with South Korea, also had Japan's participation. Watch out, because they don't care who they kill. They don't care what they destroy. And of course,
what the deep state is to
Well, the deep state is a bunch of people, elites, up in Washington, D.C., who think that they know better than we, the American people, on how to live our lives. This joke of a presidency, and that is exactly what it is. There's not been one policy that Biden or Harris that have put into place that has been successful in any regard.
what is it that makes you say that 20 people are controlling?
It's because I worked in the Pentagon after Trump left, and I can tell you, it's not what people think. It is absolutely a sham. There is no one actually leading this country, if you ask my opinion. From Secretary Austin and Mark Milley, they both should be up on treasonous charges after the Afghan debacle. That withdrawal was absolutely horrendous. What's been going on at the border is a human crisis. So we have children dying on the border, and our president spends more time on the beach in Delaware. I want DJT back in office because he's the only one who's going to put the world back in.
Sorry, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. So, when I'm hungry at night, what is happening in Gaza, what's happening in the West Bank, I have to tell you, it is hell on earth, and it is being broadcast. Thank you for the reminder. It is being broadcast. And you have to wonder how this could possibly be going on.
تخيل يا عمو انت يعني لو كانت عندك بنات زي هيك عندك كنت بالليل هيك تسيبهم يبردوا يضلهم مع الجوع طول الليل يعيطوا لما يجوعوا ايش يعملوا يحطوا الحرام عليهم عشان امهم ما تتوجعش عشانهم يعني انا بالليل بكون جوعانة بالليل ايش عشان ما يطلعش صوت الجوع عندي في بطني بضل يكركز بالليل بحط الحرام على امي عشان ماما ما تسمعش اني جوعانة عشان ماما ما تتوجعش عليا بس برضه الحمد لله في غيرنا مش حاسس بهذا النعمة اللي احنا حاسين فيها يعني احنا ايش ذنبنا هيك يصير فينا تشوف اطفال العالم الثانية كيف في تركيا وفي اليابان وفي الصين وفي امريكا وفي اوروبا كيف عايشين عايشين أحسن من عيشتنا. على الأقل أبوهم أمهم جنبيهم، إخواتهم جنبيهم، أغراضهم جنبيهم، كتبهم، مدرستهم، شنطتهم، كل إشي جنبيهم، كل إشي. يعني بقولوش، يعني بلاقوا الإشي قبل ما يقولوا بدهم إياه. إحنا هنا يعني بنقول 100 مرة بدنا هذا الإشي ومحدش بحقق لنا إياه. تخيل يا عمو أنت، يعني لو كانت عندك بنات زي هيك.
Oh my God. The journalists. More. Just killed 9 journalists in one go. So that means there was 106, so now it's 115 journalists have lost their life. Whew. And I don't understand how this is going on. Israeli TV host jokes that he can't sleep unless he watches Palestinian homes being destroyed in Gaza. His guests laugh along with him. Okay. It sure doesn't paint Israelis or Jews in a good light. Do not let these people indoctrinate your mind into thinking it is all Israelis and Jews, because it is so not. It is so not. And I have shown on lives a whole lot of Jews, a whole lot of Israelis speaking out against what is happening, very upset about what is happening. But when you see this, and you don't have every Israeli screaming their heads off, like, and putting a stop to these people who think that it's funny.
אני מודה, אני אגיד את זה פה, לא אכפת לי שירדו עליי, אוספים פה חומרים. אני לא נרדם טוב בלי שאני רואה בתים קורסים בעזה. מה אני אעשה? עוד בתים, עוד מגדלים, שלא יהיה להם לאן לחזור. אני מודה, אני אגיד את זה פה.
War crimes, that's me. I don't care if I'm criticized. I know they are collecting material. I don't get it. I can't get to sleep without watching homes in Gaza being destroyed. What can I do? Holy. More homes, more buildings. I don't want them to have anything to go back to. Something is very wrong here. Very wrong. And it's intentional. I've said this from the start. I believe it's intentional. They want the world to hate Americans and Israelis and Jews, unfortunately. They want the world turning against these two countries that are married, attached at the hip, because we're going to pay a price. All of us. French soldiers, IDF. Okay.
Il va vous amener à Gaza. Ça va chier. C'était super. Ça va chier. Ça va chier. On va les massacrer. Les massacrer. Alors voilà, nous sommes dans le tank. Alors on y va, c'est parti. On conduit le tank. Magnifique le tank, c'est magnifique. Allez, c'est parti. On y va, c'est parti. Voilà ici le capitaine nous.
How do you reconcile this? How do you reconcile this with just we're seeing far too many of these videos. It's got to be purposeful because they haven't shut it down. They are getting approval or perhaps orders from the higher ups in the IDF to put out these videos. Why would they do that? Unfortunately, the Zionist government doesn't care about Jews or Israelis or Americans or anybody. They're setting you up. They're setting all of us up. And here, Israeli soldiers verbally attack and curse a 62-year-old Israeli teacher for expressing sympathy for Palestinians.
נלחם בעזה בשביל שאתה תישן בשקט, יא בן זונה! אח שלי מהצבא בשביל שאתה תוכל לישון בשקט, יא בן שרמוטה! רק מחלות, יא בן זונה, שיהיה לך סרטן! שיהיה לך סרטן בזין, יא בן זונה, יא בן שלי! חתיכת בן שרמוטה, אח שלי חייל!
Tell me again, who needs to be de-radicalized? Exactly. Exactly. Here's another. Israeli soldiers blow up classroom in Gaza for fun.
כיתה יקרה, 4x פלוס 6 שווה 8. מישהו פה יכול להגיד לי מה x? מישהו? נו! אפשר לשירותים? כיתה יקרה.
You know, war has always been pretty horrific, right? Where's that cat? It's always been horrific. But what we are seeing with the IDF is beyond. It would have been, if you told me that these soldiers would have been acting like this, I would have said you're crazy. This is something that is so extreme evil, that I just wish that there was something that could be done to stop this. But it's going to get worse. And don't think that what you see happening in Gaza won't be happening here. Because I don't believe that there is any way that we're going to avoid war on our soil for World War III, when it finally breaks out and explodes and people see, oh, it's World War III, when they officially announce it, as if it's not already happening. So, and here, IDF blows up an entire residential block and then laugh.
רגע, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. וואו! פאקינג איי! על הפלחן! 7.
What kind of mindset is this? This is so profoundly sick. But they get a lot of support from one another, and they think it's perfectly fine.
Is warning hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are at risk of starvation, while others are already in famine.
والله هيك شايف وضعنا هيك شايف الأولاد بكل يوم بدنا ناكل بكل يوم فيش أكل بينهم بالجوع.
As you can see, this is our situation. The children want food, but we don't have any. They go to sleep without dinner. We drink polluted and contaminated water. What kind of life are we living? This isn't life. Death is better than living in these conditions. Sometimes I get a small piece of bread and I divide it between my 5 children. Other times, we beg from the neighbors. If I get an orange or a lemon, I will divide it up and give it to the children. Other countries are going through nothing compared to us. They seem to have no mercy for us. We need a solution. When there was flour available, we would buy animal feed and we would grind it up to eat instead. But we can't even find animal feed now. It's not available anymore. Our life is very difficult. The smell is bad because the sewers overflow.
أنا عندي في الدار 35 نفر. عائلتي مع ناس.
At home, there are 35 people. My family and those displaced came to live with me. In the market, we can only find clothes and kids' toys. There is no food to buy in the market. I swear that we are grinding the animal feed and the rice together to try and make some bread. The Israelis shelled those guarding the humanitarian aid a few days ago. This definitely means they're starving us. The occupation forces want us to die of hunger, rather than killing us with bombs and missiles.
Moss Patchouli, I hear, Carol, that the cabal believe that if they let us know what they're going to do to us, that they won't get any bad karma for it. I've heard that over and over. I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly what they think. I can't step into their shoes and try to imagine what they think. It could be. But what is very obvious is that we're being told on a daily basis. We have been, for sure, since 9/11, and we haven't done anything. So, when you're told over and over and over again, repeatedly, your country is taken over, your government politicians are treasonous, local, state, and federal, your border is wide open, and it has been for years. The economy, you listen to the liars and you believe those lies. The economy is crashing. It is pretty much crashed. Now they're just, managing it as best they can. You have the elderly being put out onto the street. You have families going homeless. You have people who can't afford rent. And a whole lot more. The food, where they give away free food, the lines are just getting longer and longer and longer. We all know this. And Americans, on the whole, also know. For sure they know something's really not quite right anymore. You got these kids in schools who are being abused every single day, who are being so tortured by their teachers telling them that, you're transgender. Reading pornographic material in elementary school. Drag queens doing their story hour. So, we're told all the time. And we didn't do much of anything. So, whether they will escape karma, I don't know. But will we? No. Karma from doing nothing. All right, I don't even know what to say. Yeah.
What moment, which patient will you most remember?
There was an 11-year-old child who was brought in, and she was burnt so much that her face was charred and black. Her arms were flexed and immobile, and we did not have any information or contact information for parents, whether they were alive or dead. the emergency room was permeated with the smell of burnt flesh. And I just kept thinking that this is one of so many of a generation of orphans that are going to be born into Gaza, burnt and amputated and with no life to speak of, no access to services, no family members, and it will stay with me for all my days.
What moment, which
A lot of doctors have been speaking up, and they're not just Palestinian doctors, but British doctors and a whole trail of destruction occupied West Bank residents. This is the West Bank. It's not just Gaza. They're going after every Palestinian, destroying their homes, destroying their life.
It's the day after, and there's a collective sigh of relief. Israeli forces have retreated. People are bewildered by the destruction. In an alleyway, Aysam Osman can finally grieve for his son, one of 7 who were killed here during the fighting. Tied, shot, and dragged by an armored vehicle, he was finally left to bleed on the ground. Israeli forces prevented paramedics from reaching him for several hours.
It's hard. What can we do? He's not the first or the last one. Everyone is upset at the moment. Those who lost their homes, those who lost their children. There is a lot of pain.
Around the corner from there, the house of his sister Samira is turned upside down. The soldiers first searched and then used it as a collection point for detainees. They held them here blindfolded, she says. The military says it has searched 1,000 houses during the incursion. That's 1,000 houses ransacked. Samira not only lost her nephew in this raid, but also memories of her lifetime, uprooted by a bulldozer.
It was so small. My father planted that tree, and for 50 years it kept on growing. It was this tall.
Many refugees here are originally from areas around Tel Aviv or Haifa, but are banned from returning there. They were expelled in 1948 after the creation of the State of Israel. A Palestinian armed resistance was born in these alleyways, one that Israel is trying to crush. Mohammed Zidane has seen many raids in his life, but since October the 7th, the dynamic has changed. He says Israel is sending a message to everyone here.
Before, they would raid a house to arrest someone and demolish that house. But it was never like this. The roads are torn apart, there's no water or electricity, internet was off. There's no access to food or medical treatment. Since the war, they hate us more and more. They want us out, with those in Gaza sent to Egypt and West Bank residents sent to Jordan.
The raid lasted 45 hours. The extent of the damage here in Tulkarem tells a similar story of what happened in other refugee camps, such as in Jenin. And while clearing up, people are already bracing themselves for the next incursion, which they say will come sooner rather than later. Huda Abdelhamid, Al Jazeera, in the Tulkarem refugee.
Still comfortable, right? Wow. This woman really is quite right. If it will play.
Tax Resistance Coordinating Committee. National War Tax Resistance Coordinating Committee. They have advice, they have lawyers. What we're doing now is more than 50 cents out of every dollar we give to the federal government goes to war. And now we know it's paying for genocide. We've got to stop giving them the money. You know, there's a risk, but look at the risk of pain. We're complicit in genocide.
That's right.
So, all right, really. All right.
Palestine. Thank you.
Yeah.
God bless.
My name is Kathy Boylan.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Kathy.
Complicit in genocide. And she's absolutely
National
100%
War
right.
Tax Resistance Coordinator.
But we've been complicit with all of the destruction that has taken place all over the world, burying our head in the sand. Oh, you know, we're over there because we're spreading democracy. Really. And Republican, Democrat, president, didn't matter. Trump outdid the drone strikes of Obama. Obama outdid the drone strikes of Bush, killing innocent people in many different countries. You know, look, I understand the difficulty of people who want to do something, but there's no one around them. No one around them to even inspire them, but no one around them who is willing to do anything. When you have that kind of people, that's when you go down. And you go down fast. And we're experiencing that. The apathy in this country is sickening. It's nauseating. I saw Jeff Schneider too write, the opposite of good is not evil, but it's apathy and indifference. And I agree, but the apathy and indifference leads to evil. They're ripping up the roads. They're destroying every building that they can. You know, what did we hear when this first started? From the government officials, military officials, you know, to make Gaza a parking lot. And here we have Israel rejects calls to scale back. Oh, won't even scale back a little, huh?
This is AP News Minute. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is rejecting U.S. calls to scale back his country's offensive in the Gaza Strip. He said Israel will keep fighting until it destroys the Hamas militant group.
And let me just say that the U.S. could end this pronto. And a whole lot of people around the world know that this is going on because the U.S. approves it. We could end it in a heartbeat.
Also rejected the idea of a Palestinian state. The White House immediately rebuked his comments. U.S. forces on Thursday launched a fifth strike against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. President Biden acknowledged the strikes have not stopped the Houthis from attacking ships in the Red Sea. Both houses of the U.S. Congress passed a short-term spending bill and sent it to President Biden. It will keep the government open until March. Frigid winter weather, snow and ice are...
God, it's... Oh, wow, man. Israel war on Gaza. 16 Palestinians, including children, killed in Rafah.
This boy is in shock. His family's home was struck by Israeli shelling, along with others east of the city of Rafah in southern Gaza. Dozens of people were killed. Among so much tragedy, some good news. The cries of a baby rescued alive from under rubble. But Israeli attacks are wiping out entire families.
Our house was bombed at dawn. My brother, his wife, and 3 children have been killed. We don't know why they bombed us, that's it. They bombed the children who were 3, 4, and 5 years old.
The grief of having to bury loved ones is too much for some. Displaced and traumatized residents from northern Gaza were ordered by the Israeli military to move further south to avoid being bombed, only to get killed within weeks and sometimes within days of their arrivals. More than 1 million people sheltering in Rafah city, with most feeling unsafe and forgotten as the war continues.
The families of Mus'ab Kollab and Abu Musameh and Al Zamali were all killed. A lot of children were killed. The 7-month pregnant wife of Mus'ab was killed along with her unborn child. What can we do? Where can we go? The earth has narrowed. This is our last distress call. Save us. Rescue us.
So they're told to move to a certain area, and then they start bombing that area. Okay, so the other thing that I do want to say that I've said before, but I'm going to say it again. I think a lot of what we are seeing is intentional to desensitize all of us to killing, to children being killed. We're now heading very fast to 10,000 children. 10,000 Palestinian children dead. And no, we're not going to scale back. Don't get desensitized. That's all I can say. Because the desensitization actually spreads out to everything. You don't care about the elderly going out onto the street. You don't care about the children. You don't care about anything. But we've got an awful lot of Americans who are just like that. And I did see a comment. I guess it's the frequencies that have zombified Americans. Before the frequencies, Americans didn't care. This has been going on for my entire life, 65 years. Americans didn't care prior to all of this electromagnetic frequency saturation. Too self-centered, I'm comfortable, oh, you're so serious, oh, you're so negative, oh, you're so dark, oh, that's Carol. No. They just wanted to live their self-centered, comfortable life. They didn't care about what was happening in Iraq. I would say that Americans are probably the most self-centered people on planet Earth. And all of the jokes about destroying schools, mocking Palestinians, wow, man.
כמו שניתן לראות, אלה הבלתי מעורבים היחידים בעזה, אנחנו שומרים עליהם. איזה נוח. תודה לך מוחמד. בבקשה לך אחמד. תודה אחמד. תהנה.
It's too sick for me to even continue. It also seems intentional to whip up the ill will of the world toward Israel, matching the biblical script that they follow. Well, guess what? Evangelical Christians, it's our script too. And it's not just Israel. The world doesn't like Americans. The world, a whole lot, now hate Americans. And look at who is coming across the border, a whole lot coming from countries that have had their countries destroyed, have had their community members, their friends, their families, whatever, killed by drone strikes. They're coming across the border. They ain't coming for the American dream. Get rid of Americans and get rid of Israelis. I don't understand what that means, Tony. We need you to step up to the plate. You can do this. You can take the girl out of the Bronx, but you can't take the Bronx out of the girl. Don't understand. And Israelis are also getting screwed in this.
Runs a new Mexican restaurant in a trendy street in Tel Aviv, but less than a year after he opened his business, the war on Gaza begun. Although the government has promised support to small ventures, he hasn't received anything.
The rules that you need to have more than 1 year to see what you work before the previous year, and they give you person, and I don't have 1 year. A lot of small businesses closed already because they didn't have the help and not a lot of work. We have here 3 or 4 restaurants and mini markets that already don't work.
As part of a new amended budget, the government has promised money for companies that have run out of funds during the war. A survey by the Central Bureau of Statistics in November found 1 in 3 startup businesses have closed. Those that remain open reported significant losses.
Streets like this in Tel Aviv are predominantly made up of small businesses, and some of the owners, which include reservist soldiers, tell us they feel neglected by the government and they're not being properly compensated for the loss of business and staff during the war.
Because your government doesn't care about you, just like our government doesn't care about us, just like every government doesn't care about the actual citizens they're supposed to be caring about. And Blues du Jour, I didn't take it as bad. I just didn't understand it. Was a backhanded compliment? I don't... Okay. So, Zionists get mad. Fighting. Jews are fighting against Jews. Zionists are fighting against, Jews. It is, fighting. Yeah, well, there's only going to be more and more and more of this.
Stand up with Goyim, these guys, Ossa. They go against it. One Goyim beyond Isaac.
The Orthodox and Hasidic Jews are very against what is going on, but they get beat up by the police and Israelis in Israel. So, oh my God, I cannot believe that the world has just so descended to a base level of operation. Not in my name. Israel doesn't speak for Jews around the world.
With 75-year-old Barbara Rosenbaum, who was actually born on May 15th, 1948, which is considered somewhat the official date of when the Nakba happened, but it's also coincides with the date of the inception of Israel. Barbara, what brings you here today?
I've been in Palestine solidarity one way or another, closer up and farther away since the 80s. But the shortest way to describe it is the phrase, not in my name. Being Jewish means that Israel pretends that they're acting and speaking for Jews all over the world. It's very important that Jewish and Israeli are separated, and people, people are educated to understand that. And I'm here because I'm Jewish and because they are fighting and killing people in my name, and I can't bear it.
My God, I can't even
I'm with
bear
some-
it, and I'm not Jewish. I'm going to link below to this interview with Diana Boutou, and very good. I'll play a few minutes. She's talking about what's going on in the West Bank.
Hi, I'm Yumna Patel, Palestine News Director at Mondoweiss. I sat down with Palestinian lawyer and analyst Diana Boutou to speak about the role social media is playing right now in the genocide in Gaza, and how many of us feel like we're being gaslit by our politicians and world leaders on a daily basis. In this conversation, we speak about everything from the Israeli propaganda machine and the detrimental role that the Israeli army's own soldiers may be playing in that, and of course, what it means for Palestinians that their genocide is being played live on screens around the world. Take a listen. To start off, I wanted to ask you sort of what your experience has been in that regard. As you've been, you're in Palestine, you are in 48, so you are experiencing this occupation and apartheid in a way that's very different to Gaza, but it still is this collective experience that Palestinians have been going through. So what has this been like? And I know this is a big question. What has this been like for you to be witnessing this genocide happening, obviously witnessing the changes happening around you where you live in real time, but also witnessing these atrocities from your telephone or from your television screen?
Yumna, where do I begin? One of the most difficult things is being 150 kilometers away from Gaza, and knowing what Israel's doing 150 kilometers away, and yet living in a society that is openly cheering this on, and then suppressing any attempts to bring forward any voices or any criticism of what Israel is doing. And I know that you know this, but I've had the privilege of living in Gaza. I lived there for a year and a half in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, and so I have many friends there, and I'm not the only one who has friends there. Every Palestinian I know has either friends or family living in Gaza, and even if they don't, our hearts are there. And so when you're living in 48, as I'm living, you live in a space where you're surrounded by people who are cheering on the genocide, who are openly advocating for genocide, and at the same time repressing any attempts to talk about what Israel's doing. So, for example, Israel has barred any and all protests against this war, with the exception of protests that are carried out in Tel Aviv by the Jewish Israeli community. Palestinians in 48 have been arrested for things like Facebook posts or even liking a picture on Instagram. We've seen that hundreds of students have been disciplined, not for anything that they did on campus, but again, for social media posts, for even liking a social media post, with these universities even going so far as to then send these complaints to the police themselves. And one of the things that's the most disturbing about this is that this isn't just the state apparatus that's going after Palestinians. It's your neighbor, it's your colleague, it's the person you're at study group with. And you just see that this whole machinery of supporting genocide is against you. For example, in Haifa, where I live, there are now militias that you see openly roaming the streets, carrying weapons, and they go through your social media posts and people place you on a list. I know that I personally have been placed on a list. I know that I personally have been subjected to complaints to the Israeli police for interviews that I have given. And I'm not alone. We've seen the arrest of people like Dalal Abu Amni for a Facebook post that says, "There is no protector but God," or the arrest of Maysa Abdel Hadi for liking an Instagram post, which she then later removed. So it's to live here is to live in a society that is openly supporting, in some cases advocating genocide, and feeling that you are next. But it doesn't just stop there. You then look down at your phone and you see the level of dehumanization that Palestinians go through on a daily basis. Again, not just from the Israelis, but globally. Everything from the way that this genocide is being covered, everything from whether they label it a genocide, whether they listen to what Israeli leaders are saying when they openly advocate ethnic cleansing and genocide, whether they are wholeheartedly going along with the bombing of hospitals and schools and the measures that Israel's taking to bomb not only the north, but the south, and somehow framing this as phases to a war. So being a Palestinian here is to be living in the belly of the beast, to be surrounded by people who are supporting and advocating genocide, and yet knowing that 150 kilometers away, Israel's carrying out a genocide, and we just might be next.
I think
I'm going to put the link in again. It goes on. If there was any possible way to inspire people to do something differently, like everyone stop working, don't pay taxes, stop working, don't shop, get yourself a little uncomfortable, and just say, this society, the American society, is no longer going to function until a ceasefire is going on. We just stop everything. And it would be good prep for what is coming to us, for sure. British doctor. I can't listen to her. Oh, she pisses me off. Anyway, but I did listen to the doctor, and British doctor on witnessing Israel's destruction of Gaza hospitals, horrific injuries to children. There's no a functioning hospital, like a grade A. There were 36 hospitals in Gaza, and don't quote me on this, but I think 2 are operating. They're operating without medicine, without pain, without anesthetic, operating on children without anesthesia.
Every day now, the mask falls further. On the very same day that the West's pet bulldog, Israel, was hauled into The Hague to face the charge of genocide in which EU countries are complicit, our so-called like-minded partners, the US and Britain, flout the UN Charter to commit their latest crime of aggression. Illegal, unprovoked, unjustified airstrikes on Yemen. Lawless, barbarous acts to inflame the region and to make worse the catastrophic cost of living crisis being experienced by millions of Europeans. And now some of ye actually want to join them. Seriously, with a straight face, people have come in here and said they want to do that in order to uphold international law. The very same international law that a horrified world has watched being trampled into the ruins of Gaza, while the EU hands Israel more weapons and cheers on the genocide. The Yemenis have killed no one. 25,000 Palestinians are dead, and all you're enraged about is international shipping. It's over. The EU has no moral authority. If you want to sort the situation out, end the genocide. Every day.
Yeah. Could Americans actually believe that we follow international law? We make a mockery of international law. So do the Israelis. So does the UK. We make a complete and utter mockery of everything. That's the American way. Aren't Americans fed up with it at this point? I guess not. I guess not. US-UK militaries owe $111 billion in climate compensation, continue expanding toxic footprint worldwide. And that's what we're good at. The toxic footprint of the US, of Israel, of the UK. And I have said the true axis of evil. US, UK, Israel. Axis of evil. People are going to think that I'm doing hand things, symbols or something. I'm not. War is never, ever factored in to the equation on climate change. How about that carbon budget on war? No. And we don't factor in geoengineering and weather modification either. Isn't that interesting? No. No, it's not. So, I'm going to start begging anyone have a place for me to rent. I need a cosigner. I've never not paid rent. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm very respectful of places. But I've been trashed in the cyber world by subscribers. And I'm going to have to speak the details because I don't understand what happened to my life. I really don't. I am horrified every single day and really feeling that, holy shit, I could be at my end because I'm having trouble living what I'm living on a daily basis. And there's nowhere for me to go. I have no resources to alleviate what I'm feeling. And that's very hard. But I knew that having to leave Anderson, South Carolina was going to be my death knell. And it's been very hard ever since. So, I am not coming to Bullhead City, but thanks, Genesis. I've got to post that video. I have to start talking about, I actually, and I've been listening to other people on YouTube who apparently have been on YouTube for a long time, and they've been experiencing things, and they're feeling like maybe they're being targeted. They're experiencing things like physical decline. I've been experiencing a psychological, whirlwind going down, 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 down. And I honestly don't. I don't get it a whole lot. have said that I'm targeted, but it's very hard for me to say anything like that because I need proof. But there's so many different programs for the targeting, and I now wonder, because what has been happening is so off the charts wrong. And every day now I think, wow, man, I could be at my end. Okie dokie. There's a whole lot that people are going through. And unfortunately, my years on the internet, in the cyber world, I have noticed hearts growing cold. It's up to you, individually, the you, to make sure your heart does not grow cold. That's a choice. And people who have their hearts growing cold, they were cold to begin with. They were just bullshitting throughout life about how much they care and their compassion. Your heart doesn't just grow cold unless it was cold. If you've been doing the work that you need to be doing, spiritual development, growth, all of that kind of stuff, your heart does not grow cold. Actually, it hurts. It hurts with what you see. Especially when you have no resources to effect any kind of change or help anybody or even yourself. So, I do hope that all of you are doing that work to grow. Live honestly, speak honestly. Most important. And it's simple. The spiritual path is actually simple if you just focus on those two. Speak honestly, live honestly. But you've got to do the self-reflection in order to get to a place where you're honest, because an awful lot of people are self-deceived in their honesty. You got to ask yourself if you are one of them. So, I do hope that you all stay safe and do what you can. Help those in your community. Extend yourself. Don't wait to be asked. And try to educate people as best as you can, because hell is coming here. A lot of Americans are already experiencing hell. It's coming to an awful lot of the comfortable. And then you get a whole new perspective on life. It's eye-opening. So, yeah, thank you for showing up, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. And on that note, good night and good luck.